Hello, it's going to go over some work on the carburetor on a Ryobi BP42 backpack blower. I've found they've had to make some adjustments, but I was just going to go over a few things. Some of the videos from other channels are showing the type of adjustment tool that you need to use, and they are incorrectly stating that it is a pac-man. If you look at the configuration of both of these adjusters, they are both what would be considered a D-shaped adjuster, which I've got a tool for here, and well, you can see it. It's just got one flat on one part of the tool right there on the left side, and that is going to give you the best grip on these fasteners, on the heads of these fasteners for adjusting. Because what's going to happen is you try to use this one. You see it goes on very nicely and firmly, seats in there well on both of the adjusters. This one takes a little bit of wiggling, but as you see, it slides down almost at least a good quarter of an inch. That's going to give you a lot better grip than a pac-man tool. A pac-man may make it on there. See, this is the top of the fastener here without the tool seated on it, and once I do get it seated, let's see how much I got to visually. It'll drop down quite a bit onto the fastener and give it a very good grip. You try to use a pac-man tool on there, you could probably adjust it with one, but the problem is you risk breaking that little tip on the inside of the pac-man tool and not being able to use that tool for when you do need a pac-man adjuster. So, and I'm just going to take a little video of putting the carburetor back on. I've had to, I'll go through it real quick. Disassembly. This has got 4 screws. This is a it's kind of like a float chamber. It's not really a float bowl per se. It does have, I'll show you the mechanism in it. This carburetor is actually a combination carburetor and fuel pump. Fuel pump's on the other side. I'll show you that real quick too. I thought I had some clogging problems inside the carburetor with some old gas. This unit's only about 3 years old. It's not used much at all. I ran the gas out of it last time very well and put some extra 2-stroke oil in as I ran it out to keep the corrosion down. And come to find out, it's just the mixture adjustment on the high speed. So when you take this apart, the diaphragm will stay with the cover. It's got these 2 alignment pins on top, so you cannot put this on in the wrong orientation. And then you look closely in the middle of things. It does have what would basically be a regular carburetor float needle and a little actuator lever, and this screw holds down the pin. There's a spring under here. God forbid if you take this apart to lose it. There was absolutely, I did take it apart, there was absolutely no dirt or anything inside of here when I did take it apart, so I did not have an instance to need to clean anything. I did, but it didn't make any difference. And it's like I said, this just goes together how it came apart. You don't really run into the really small part issue unless you take that spring out, and if you do, it's a little bit of a trial to get it back in. I managed to do it. Just make sure you got all 4 screws snug. It's almost impossible to misalign things going back together with the gasket having holes and pins like that. That's the one side. On the other side here, this is the fuel pump chamber. Only got 1 screw. Has a small rubber gasket in there. This also has the needle for the idle setting on it. Luckily, this does not have a lot of parts in it per se. All it really has is the outer gasket and the little reed valve diaphragm for pumping the fuel. That diaphragm on the inside of the carb, it's got to take pressure or vacuum or something that flaps those reeds that the whole system just makes it pump fuel once it gets going. And that's it for that. That was nice and clean. So it's a fairly easy disassembly. These carbs also right now look like they're available for a fairly inexpensive price on eBay. My hose came off of my primer bulb. And I'm putting the rest of it back together. Going over a reassembly, first make sure that your throttle on your handle is in the upwards position to give you the most slack out of the cable that you need. And then you will have the throttle cable sticking outwards in a position where it's fairly easy to get the carb on here. All you have to do is take the carburetor, tilt it, line that cable pin up I might have to get this in between these 2 hoses right now. Oh, hose came off. That's even better. Just basically you have to line it up and get that pin to go in to the throttle plate and then just tip it into the upwards position and it locks in. You can see that. And I think this hose actually ended up better on this side of the carb. Nah, maybe not. Reattach it to the back side here where it came off. Oh, it might actually go better here. Okay. So the 2 bolts that you took to get this into the sun, better lighting. The gasket plate is this. The gasket is this one whole large piece of cardboard back here, so it's hard to unless you severely damage it trying to get the bolts back in. It's pretty well self-aligning. Get your bolt to go through your air filter body into the top of the carb. You can see where the top one's going to get started. Take your time, start it by hand. A little pull on it and it's seated well. And the second one should line up fairly well as well. Just make sure you start it by hand. Resist the urge to use a power tool or an impact, because if you start the threads out bad and put a lot of force on it, it's going to be a lot worse repair than your day started out with. It's a T20 Torx for all of these fasteners, except for the idle adjustment screw, which can either be a straight blade or a Phillips, and then the D-pin one for the mixtures. I mistakenly thought that you do not need the third screw on this baffle plate in order to reassemble things and not worry about vibration. I found later that that plate vibrates severely when the motor is running, and it will possibly damage the other two mounts if you don't install that third screw. So, against my original advice to leave it out, I would seriously consider having all three screws installed and tightened well. And then you have your two fasteners here. Oh, there, the filter. The filter came out with the cover. Filter itself can only go on one way. It doesn't go on in the vertical position. You have to put it so the fins, so the pleats are horizontal. And that's it for reassembly. It's only the 6 fasteners if you need to take the carburetor all the way off. But the main thing with this is just getting the right adjustment tool into the proper areas to adjust your idle mixture and your high-speed mixture. Now, between those two adjusters, it's hard to say which one it is to adjust, because the YouTube videos that I have seen did not give a good view of which one they actually adjusted or got the screw on. Let's see, they're a little buried in there. So what I did is I opened up from yesterday. I opened up the one more towards the engine itself, and we're going to give this thing a. It's all put back together. We're going to give it a prime and a tug. See how it behaves today. I'll probably have to reset the low speed as well, because I was playing with this thing a lot yesterday. Hit that low speed about a turn. Now get it. taken a couple tries to get the high-speed mixture and the idle screw set. Probably backed off too far in the idle screw. Gotta be a happy medium in here somewhere. Hey, I think I got it. The screw on the left seems to be the idle mixture screw. The screw on the right, closer to the engine, is the high-speed mixture screw, and then the spring screw. And there, as you can see easily, that one's just the low-speed idle setting. But between these two in here, the one to the left, the more towards the outside, that's the idle mixture, and the one to the right, that is the high-speed mixture. So, hopefully with some fresh gasoline, good spark plugs, some good adjustments, and should have a functioning Ryobi BP42 leaf blower. Thank you for watching the video, and I hope you enjoyed it and gained some knowledge from it.